So, today I want to talk about one of the biggest mistakes that business owners make in trying to make more money in their business. Now, I've named it something in my mind, but as I think more about it, this may not be, I guess it'll be as relevant as how old you are. I call it the field of dreams flaw. It is a critical mistake that business owners make whenever they are running a business. And many of us have this idea of, I'm going to start my business, or I'm going to roll out a new product, or I'm going to do a big web redesign, or I'm going to relaunch a service, or whatever are like these big inflection points for us. A lot of times we think that simply by pulling the trigger and doing those things, that will then lead to incredible momentum for our business. It'll lead to incredible momentum for our brand. I announced the new business, and now the phone calls are going to come in, the contact forms are going to be filled out, and I'm going to make a lot of money doing this new thing. This is called the Field of Dreams flaw because it is the movie with, I almost said Michael Keaton. That's not right. Who is this guy? Hang on. Some of you guys are probably screaming at me. I'm just blanking on the names. Let's see here. I know. I'm getting to it. Kevin Costner. We got it. Okay. So Kevin Costner has this vision, this dream. In hindsight, it's kind of creepy, but he hears these whispers in his cornfield that tell him, if you build it, they will come. And sorry to spoil the movie, but he's basically being told to build a baseball field in his backyard, and the ghosts of all amazing past baseball players will come and play in your backyard. Just like describing it that way, if you've never seen it, it sounds very strange, but it's actually a very iconic 90s movie from Kevin Costner. Many of us have this thinking with our business. We think, if I build it, they will come. If I launch the podcast, people will come. If I launch the website, whatever, fill in the blank with whatever big thing you're thinking about for this next year. And you can know that there is immense danger around simply thinking that the big decision is launching. That's not the big decision. Unfortunately, how it actually works in the real world is that this is just the beginning of the major decisions you'll be making in your life around this thing. A good example of this is having grown up in the Bible Belt, being a Christian myself. One thing that comes up a lot in Christianity is this, maybe criticism isn't the right word, but like this incorrect emphasis on someone becoming a Christian without realizing that becoming a Christian is the start of the religious journey. That's not like the biggest point in your life. And people who get this backwards, I think it creates a harder. The next steps are harder because you have an incorrect understanding of what this process really looks like. In a similar way, there are people who fantasize about quitting their jobs, starting that business, doing that thing, and they put so much emotional energy around finally doing that thing that they don't realize that starting the thing is such a small piece of the whole big picture. Like, you started the business, great. Now you have to learn how to sell. Now you have to learn how to iterate your product. Now you have to learn how to get customer feedback. Now you have to learn how to manage your time and your business and your cash flow and, your tech stack or however complicated your business is. You have to learn how to manage all of those things. Starting the business is easy. Anybody can start a business. Managing a business and growing a business is the hard part. I've seen this come up more and more because what I have found is that people have a misunderstanding of what exactly you should be doing as a business owner when it comes to growing your brand. What I have found is that many business owners are simply waiting for their luck to turn around. They're waiting for momentum to happen in their brand. They're waiting for that next big deal to come in rather than being active in making it happen. Like, let's look at our old friend. Dude, what is wrong with me? I cannot think of names today. Harrison Ford from wait, am I misquoting this actually? What's the winners make their own luck? Isn't that Star Wars Han Solo? Hang on. Let's see. I might be totally off here. Where's this come from? Quote from Vince Lombardi. Man, this is rough today. This is real rough today. What am I thinking of? Hang on. Hang on. No, there is nothing about Han Solo ever saying this. What am I doing? What is going on today? I'm all over the place. Okay. All right. If you're a first time listener, you're like, who is this guy who throws out random quotes with, random people? So, but I love this. I love this line. Winners make their own luck. I love this concept of people who are being active and aggressive and making it happen. We see this in a number of different formats. We see it with people who throw up their hands and they say, well, it's the economy. Well, nobody's buying right now. Well, it's an election year. Well, it's just that time of the year. It's the holiday season. Like, there's people who always have a reason for why something isn't working versus the person who, despite that, is always trying to make it happen. I had Jenny Wellington on the podcast recently. I loved her quote around this conversation she said, we were talking about this topic of people sort of removing their own responsibility for their success. And she basically said, yeah, I mean, that may be true. The economy may suck. That may be true, but I guess I'm just going to have to outwork you. I mean, that's my only option. Like, what other choice do I have other than to be aggressive and to make this happen? One of the reasons I'm bringing this up today is I was on a conversation I was on a phone call having a conversation with a guy a few weeks ago. Somebody just launched his business, younger guy. And he said, hey, would you mind if I give you a phone call? I'd love to pick your brain on a couple of things, which I love taking a few minutes and just giving whatever insights that I can. So this guy calls me and we're talking about his business. And I say, well, hey, so what's your plan for getting more customers? Like, what's your plan of ending out this year? Like, what are you planning on doing? And he goes, oh, well, I mean, I guess I'm going to start posting on social media. And I go, okay. And then there was like this sort of like brief pause. I was like, and he was like, yeah. So I think I'll get my social media going and, go from there. So he says this and I go, okay. Social media is great. I'm on social media every day. I post every day. I have a podcast that gets content at least twice a week. But understand something. Posting on social media and seeing a return on it, typically we're talking weeks, months, maybe even longer to see a return. Do you have that much time before you start generating revenue? Do you have that much time to make a sale? And he goes, no. I definitely need this to start making me money sooner than that. And I said, okay. Then understand, waiting for your next customer is not a strategy. It is not a strategy to wait for opportunities to come your way. Now, as time goes on, and especially as you build a brand and you have a content engine and you're showing up in front of people, there is a buying cycle where someone will hear from you. They'll decide if they like you. They'll grow to trust you and they will eventually buy from you. Or you'll have a random day where the contact form does get filled out and it is a great lead and someone does become a customer. It was through nothing you did. They came across your website. Now, granted, you built the website or what have you. You did all the things to set you up for that. But I'm not saying that there aren't these moments where someone comes by and, the deal happens without you really having to do anything. But I don't know about you, but I've just never been patient enough to wait for those things. Even I've had friends who run multi-million dollar brands who've talked to me about how even they're pacing for these out of the blue deals being once every few months, maybe, even as massive brands. So if your expectation is that your business, you're just going to show up every day, you're just going to post every day, and one day you'll be popular enough that you'll get all these customers. It's not a dig at anybody, and it's not to say that you're not capable. The question is, can I wait that long? I think that's really all there is to it. When we talk about running a successful business, a lot of this isn't really about ingenuity and going even viral or standing out in the moment. A lot of these conversations is about survival. Do I have the cash to survive long enough for my business to generate its own momentum? Do I have enough cash to be willing to try new things and see what works and play a little bit, to be creative? Okay, that didn't work with that customer. Let's tweak it and try it differently over here. And when you don't have that cash, it really limits your options as a small business owner. So in another way, in order to create the space for innovation and ingenuity and the appetite for risk, I'm willing to try that out. I'm willing to pay for that marketer. I'm willing to run that campaign. I'm willing to roll out this product that I don't know if it's going to be profitable. In order to have the space to do those things, you need cash so that when you make a mistake, you're not out of business. You're not having to fire your team. You have the space to tolerate a certain amount of risk. That is where ingenuity is found. That's where competitive edges are found outside of just being a genius in the business space, which I've never been. Most people that I meet aren't that. You may be the exception, but chances are, statistically speaking, you're probably like a lot of us. So with that said, you can't fall into the trap of, if I build it, they will come. They won't come. People will go where they're invited to. And this is less about posting on social media and more about creating those opportunities for people to engage with you, to have a conversation with you, and to eventually, hopefully, buy from you. So if your strategy has been, I'm going to post on social media, that's my sales strategy, this should be a major red flag, for you. Now, if you have a meaningful brand, you have a large network, you have 30,000 followers or subscribers on YouTube, I'm less worried about you. If you have 10K followers on LinkedIn, you have high engagement on you can skip this episode entirely because you've built the network that you can leverage with your social media to convert that into actual sales, into actual revenue. Now, I will say it's not just about numbers. I have known influencers, air quote, I have known influencers on LinkedIn with 40, 50, 60, 70,000 followers who are jobless, unemployed, no money because they don't understand the sales process. They don't have a compelling offer. They don't really know what it is they sell, but they post really funny and cute memes every day. No, that's not. Sounds like I'm knocking. I'm not knocking really anybody. Um, I think really I'm sort of lightly playing about what's the substance that someone then buys beyond just the surface level humor. That's something for you to think about, right? And it's something for all of us to think about. Is when someone considers our brand, what is this substance that they associate you with? Ideally, the substance is the deep value of whatever service or offer you have, which is, I point this out because sometimes how someone associates you is not what you think you are. The value someone thinks you have isn't what you're trying to sell. You're out of sync. The thing you're trying to sell, no one really thinks of you that way. A good example would be, um, here's a good example. I'm very small on LinkedIn. I'm very small on LinkedIn, comparatively. I had someone who I was in a conversation with earlier who said, "Hey, do you sell a personal branding service?" And I said, "I don't. That's not a product that I have, and it's never going to be a product that I have. My service is nothing to do with going from 0 followers on LinkedIn to 10,000. I wouldn't know the first thing. Now, I do know a lot about relentless stubbornness, about posting despite having no engagement, and through sheer willpower of, you know, just pushing forward, generating enough momentum on social media that people do eventually buy from you. I know a little bit about pathways of using social media to generate sales. I've been the guy to post something on social media and to have had someone call 20 minutes later and say, "Hey, I want to buy that. I need that." None of this is about social media not working. It's about understanding who you are, what you sell, and is that in line with how customers see you as well? But thinking about your business, thinking about the next month or next year, thinking about your strategy moving forward, what is your strategy? What is your plan to get more sales, to grow your business, to scale? The way I've seen it play out is that everything tends to disorder. It's the law of entropy. If I don't cut my grass, is my lawn going to become neat and tidy? No, it's going to become weeds, overgrown, a mess. And if looking outside right now, full of my kids' toys. It will eventually become its own playground, and all of the neighbor kids will come by, and maybe I'll charge a service. That's my next side hustle. But that's what will naturally happen. My 4-year-old isn't going out there and cleaning up the lawn. So understanding that everything tends to disorder, I have to be intentional to keep my lawn how I want it to be. The same thing is true about your business. If you've been waiting and hoping for something new and thinking maybe next year will be different, why would it be any different than it is now, knowing that the law of entropy tells us everything is moving towards chaos, and it takes an intentional strategy and decision to try to grow your business and make you more money. So what can you do? What comes to mind? There's a lot of options. There's a lot of ways you can grow your brand. There's a book I'll give you. It's called, on the theme of not remembering things. I think it's from Traction, but it might be Rocket Fuel. I think it's the same author, by the way. But if you look at Traction, the author actually gives a list of growth channels. I think it's like 16 to 20 different ways you can grow your business. Social media is just one of them. Cold calling is another one. Networking events is another one. Businesses in your area that you can pass referrals to and collaborate with. If you are a realtor trying to grow your brand, maybe becoming friends with the title agency makes a lot of sense. Y'all would do a lot of business together. speaking events, lunch and learns, a podcast. I think it's different enough from social media, guesting on podcasts. There are going to your current customers and asking them for referrals. Like, there are endless ways to generate revenue for your business that involve you actually doing something and showing up. And it's got to be more than just waiting around. Having said that, all that said and done, I wish you well for these next upcoming months and next year for your business. And I want to encourage you, stay hungry, stay active. Let me go back to my friend Jenny Wellington's quote. You can't control the economy. You can't control people's feelings, the fact that it's a holiday or not a holiday, or, the Mercury retrograde or what have you. I can't control any of that, but I can outwork you, which means showing up and doing something about it each and every day. Hey, that's today's good advice. Thank you for tuning in to today's podcast. If you're a first-time listener, what the heck are you waiting on? Click that subscribe or follow button so you can keep getting good advice wherever you are. We do have a Patreon, patreon.com/goodadvice, where you can support the podcast for as little as the price of a cup of coffee, which in today's economy could be anything. It's $5 a month. Or if you're a business you want to advertise on the show, you can always reach out, Blake@goodadvicecoaching.com. Hey, I appreciate you. That's today's good advice. We'll see you later.